Machines like this Ostoft make it look real easy. They can cut more cane in an hour than blokes like me could do in a week. Those early hand cutters used to cut the cane green, just like a lot of farmers do today. We got pretty good at cutting cane. Soon we were the world's best. We were always looking for new ways to make the job easier. Australians have been making cane harvesters for over 100 years. According to the patent records, the first design for a cane harvester was made in 1888. An engineer bloke down Brisbane way called Thomas Tomlinson came up with a handy sort of design. His idea was for horses to pull a machine on a cable up and down the cane rows. Most of the early cane harvesters were very primitive, not much like today's sophisticated machines, but they worked. Well, some did, and the others might have too, with a bit of luck. We don't know how many of those early designs got off the drawing board and into the field. Most were a bit radical for the time. Even if they got built, they probably didn't cut much cane. But that didn't stop other people from trying. According to the newspapers, the first cane harvester ever built was in 1890. A fellow called John Rowland was reported to have built a steam-powered machine 27 metres long. That's more than twice as long as today's machines. Bundaberg was later to become the world centre of cane harvester manufacturing. Today, we can have a good laugh at those first cane harvesters. But strange contraptions weren't restricted to the early days. A lot of inventors went broke making cane harvesters, so why did they keep trying? Partly because they'd been bitten by the inventing bug, but mainly because cane farmers wanted a faster, easier, cheaper way of cutting and loading their crops. Cutting cane at ground level was never the problem. The hard part was picking it up again. People were using primitive cane loaders before the turn of the last century, like this one at Innisfail. And even in the 1920s, Falconer used a tractor-mounted mechanical loader. Around the same time, Howard incorporated the new loading system into his whole-stick harvester. In the 1940s, Fairymead Sugar Company used jib-type loaders to load cane on its Bundaberg plantations. Tofts had a loader too. Later they built one for cane growers that was powered by hydraulics. That was an exciting development. Quade front-end loader was a big breakthrough. It meant that even the little battler like me could afford to buy one. We could load cane which had been cut by hand as well as that cut by whole stalk harvesters. Front-end loaders gave a real boost to machine harvesting. Soon they'd virtually replaced hand loading. But with whole stick cutting, we still had to solve the problem of removing the cane tops before loading. Most cane harvesters had toppers, but there still weren't too many harvesters about. Shear blades were cheap and easy to operate, although the work was hard. And heavy bundles of cane still had to be lifted by hand off the ground and onto trucks. It was inevitable that people would look for quicker, easier ways of loading. But it wasn't just Toft and Massey. There were other small manufacturers too. Many Queenslanders are part of the harvesting legend. There are too many inventors to mention them all by name, but ones that do come to mind readily include Bill Crichton, Ray Vinton, the Scott brothers. Inventing was like a disease. It could hit anyone, and when you had it, it was very hard to get rid of it. It wasn't always the qualified ones who made the big discoveries. Plenty of good ideas came out of farm sheds and bush workshops. We've still got a few inventors out there on our farms. A few people who are crazy enough to take up the challenge. Anyway, half crazy or not, I salute them all. Every Australian can be proud of what those men and women achieved. They all played an important part in making Australia the world leader in cane harvesting. We were the first country in the world to convert entirely to mechanical harvesting. And now, we're the world's #1 raw sugar exporter. Yep, I just love this time of year.